Hey there, Squirrel Army. For today, we're gonna talk about a card I think we all slept on, including me, Armored Scrapgorger.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so this is from Phyrexia All Will Be One. It's just essentially a 2-mana dog. That's not too bad. Not amazing, but that's fine. It's an 0-3. But we've got a couple little tricks here. As soon as it gets 3 all counters, it gets +3 +0. Now that's pretty good for 2-drop, becoming a 3-3. So that's pretty above the curve for most cards. And as I said, it is a mana dog, so you can tap it to add a mana of any color. Again, not the best, but not the worst. The next piece of text is where I think this card shines, because this card offers a very Deathrite Shaman style of an effect where we can exile a card from a graveyard. And then when we do, we put an oil counter on it. Of course, eventually, if we get 3 of those counters with the +3 +0, so that's not really going to take that long. And it is when it becomes tapped, so you could just smack it in there when you're getting the last counter and suddenly you've got a 3-3. Not that amazing. Sometimes it'll be somewhat relevant, but again, I just think this card has a lot of good utility, and people should be playing this more in EDH because it's really good. We know how good Deathrite is. Now, this isn't Deathrite, but still, it's pretty darn decent because, again, it's simple to tap this thing at instant speed as well, in response to spells or things happening, so you can exile the thing that somebody's getting before they get it, like especially with like Reanimate and cards like that, which is something I like about Scavenging Ooze. You don't really use it till you sort of need to, or until the point you know what you're targeting for the most part. I have not 100% done that because, again, like sometimes early game, and it depends what your deck kind of is or whatever, but it's hard with certain decks to pass up having that mana, especially early on your turn, unless you're a very heavy instant and sorcery deck or instant speed deck, so that you're planning to have your mana up on other people's turns and do all of that stuff. I find that, yes, mid to later game, you can start saying, okay, I've made 4 or 5 more land drops, but if you're me, of course, you've made none. That, or you've just made 50 somehow, or whatever it is. It's always one or the other. But it's the case of once you've gotten to that mid to late game, you're starting to go, oh yeah, I've got enough mana over here to cast most of my rest of stuff. I've got the rest of my, mana rocks, mana dorks, whatever else I'm playing out as well. So I've got enough ramp. So now I'm interested in this being a utility card to exile graveyards. Yeah, you can only exile one thing. Um, so it's not as good against mass graveyard recursion, but even chipping away a little bit slowly at somebody's graveyard, especially if you sort of know kind of what their like combos are or whatever they're trying to do with what's in the graveyard, or even if you just sort of threat assess every card that's in their graveyard, so you're going, what is really powerful or what's an evasive creature or whatever, what, has free abilities or whatever, that sort of thing. So those are your key targets, obviously. But again, you start doing that kind of thing and just making it more difficult for those graveyard decks against something like Muldrotha, which is like one of the most played decks in the format still. And Marin still sort of heavily played too. Against those decks, which, are mostly playing one thing from the graveyard per turn, or one creature or whatever, and most of the time you need to get rid of those creatures because that's what, fuels their deck for the most part. In Marin, but in Muldrotha it's a bit different, but still, at least you know what they've got, and again, if you know their deck, their combos, etc., you can work it out to be going, well, this is probably the card or whatever that, I'm gonna exile unless they give me a reason. So it's not like the most mind blowing card ever, but still, I think it has great utility and, as said, should see more play. So I hope you guys will pick up one of these for yourself. Pretty darn cheap. Only 21 US cents, so not very expensive. Might go up, might not. So wait and see. But anyway, you guys can always let me know what you guys think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below, and I'll get to them some point. I hope you'll join me in the next one.